let's talk about what happened in Arizona. You know, you probably have all kinds of reactions to it, not only as an American, as a citizen, but as a politician. So as you're watching the news reports coming out of this tragedy in Arizona, what's going on for you, Mr. Mayor?
Well, it's obviously a very sad incident because so many people lost their lives, and because you have someone who's only 22 years old, who's obviously disturbed, and who had his own life that could have gone in a different direction. I believe that in some ways it's a sign of the times that we're living in. But it's hard right now to ascribe exactly what produced this in him. I will say, though, that that I'm hopeful that in this moment where everyone is pausing to give this thought, that people will commit themselves to build up community, to approach things in a more thoughtful way, and not to build division among people.
But in a place like Arizona, in the situation of Arizona, you, Mr. Mayor, actually have been very clear that as a lawyer, you feel like the SB 1070 law in Arizona basically says, puts forth the issue of racial profiling consistently at every point. You ask the question as a lawyer, how can you possibly know who is in the country legally and who is in the paper, who's in the country without papers?
Sure. Well, and the other day at a press conference, the sheriff of Pima County, Sheriff Dupnik, I believe said it very well, that in a place right now in the year 2011, like Arizona, there is this kind of cauldron, this brew of division that maybe didn't necessarily directly, there's nothing that told this 22-year-old, go and do this. Something is clearly wrong in his mind. But that kind of division, that outward animosity, it gives rise to a certain environment that can make it easier for folks who are unstable to take these signals and run with them. And we don't know for sure that happened here. But I tend to agree with Sheriff Dupnik that what's been created here is not a good environment for a state of the United States of America, of a great country to live in.
It also affects you quite personally. You're a politician who loves to be out in your city. People know you in your city. Do you think that, have you given thought to the issue of what it looks like in our country if politicians, local politicians, representatives in Congress have to have armed guards now?
Well, I'm hopeful that this is an isolated incident. And every time something like this happens, as someone in elective office, you think about the issue of security. Just a month or so ago, we saw the video of a gentleman going into a school board meeting and at very close range trying to shoot several school board members. Same thing. But the day that we have to become so worried about our personal security that you can't even meet with your constituents in a non-stilted environment, that's the day that there are greater consequences for the American democracy. And so my hope is that, yes, people will think more about security and they'll be reasonable about it, but that we won't go overboard and not wall ourselves off as public servants and create even more of the image and the frustration that a lot of people have that, hey, these folks think they're different from us and they're above us and so forth. And so it's always been a balancing act, and it's going to be even a tighter one in the future. But I hope this won't change the general willingness of people in elected office to go out there and mingle with their constituents, because you think about how many people have served in office, and this type of story in that context is relatively rare.
The emotions, if you had to just choose a couple of words to describe the emotional roller coaster that you've been on, that your family has been on. You come from a political family. You have a wife and a little girl. What words would you use? In relation to this event or in general? No, in relation to this event.
Well, I think in relation to this event, just sad for Representative Giffords and for the other victims. And there's a lot of wondering of what's next. I mean, my hope is that people stopping and thinking about the climate that we're living in 2011, that folks will commit themselves to tone down the rhetoric and speak a little bit differently. So there's a sadness, there's a reflection about also being in public service and what this kind of thing means for me and for my family. But there's also in me a strong belief that the United States can respond to things like this in a positive way, and that people can commit to build community and not to divide people.
Thank you, Mayor Castro.
Thank you.